Hey everyone, this is Shpan, and here's 5 mistakes you might be making in Daggerfall. But before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing to my channel or becoming a channel member for only $1.99, supporting the channel and getting access to some fun benefits. With all that out of the way, let's get into today's topic. In Daggerfall, it is really inefficient to choose more than one weapon skill when making your character. Every enemy in the game can be hit by any weapon type, and the only thing that prevents dealing damage to an enemy is the material of that weapon. So there's no need to ever dip into a second weapon skill. Choosing more than 2 weapon skills will require you to alternate between all of them to gain experience, and instead you could simply be putting all of that same time into a single weapon skill that would then be a higher level and a lot more effective. And that's not the only negative effect it has. There's also an opportunity cost with selecting more than one weapon skill. You of course now have one less skill slot to put a more useful skill. However, I would say that the one exception would be first choosing any weapon skill and having archery alongside it. If you really want a second weapon skill, archery is okay because it at least offers something different by letting you hit targets at range. You can't dual wield in Daggerfall, so even the idea of combining, for example, a mace in one hand and a short sword in another, and then leveling them at the same time, unfortunately is not an option. The best advice I can give is choose a single weapon skill in one of your primary skill slots and forget about the rest. A ship is, in my opinion, the most valuable thing you can own in Daggerfall. It's better than a player home and also better than a horse, and almost accomplishes everything a wagon does. Though you can't directly sell items that you're storing on your ship, so that small time save is something that the wagon does that the ship doesn't. However, a ship has a ton of really great uses and a couple really interesting and situational uses as well. For one, ships can travel anywhere with the least amount of time to travel. It can be accessed from anywhere outside of a dungeon or building and at any time, even if there are enemies nearby. And because it literally teleports you to a completely new location, you can use it as a get out of jail free card for really any situation in the game. Ships also make amazing storage because it's a super safe place and you can gain access to it at any time. It's effectively unlimited storage, and you can hoard as much as you like, including large piles of gold, without having to worry about converting banknotes or without having to worry about the massive gold weight when carrying it. Another really cool trick with ships is that hitting the door for some reason counts as breaking in, even though you own it. This lets you spawn guards for free, which can be used to fight and level up skills or get free loot to sell. But my favorite way to use this trick is as a vampire to get free feeding when you're bloodthirsty. You no longer have to worry about where to get your next feeding because you can access this boat from pretty much anywhere and at any time. It's also a space that avoids sunlight, so you'll always have a place to hide during the day as a vampire. The ship is super useful, and saving up for one should be a goal for most playthroughs. I often see people cite Daggerfall's massive dungeons as something they really dislike in the game. But if you're playing on Daggerfall Unity, you have access to a small dungeons option in the main settings page, and I recommend it to players that really aren't a fan of the super large Daggerfall dungeons. For everyone else that wants to get into it, I have a few tips to give. The most important one is to not approach every dungeon you enter with the idea that you need to kill every enemy inside it and check every corner. These dungeons are massive, and if you stumble upon one, you should explore some of it with the goal of leveling up some skills and getting some loot, but you don't need to get everything and kill everything. Daggerfall dungeons don't have some secret boss hiding at the end or a special kind of loot chest at the end of the dungeons. There is no special reward to 100%ing a dungeon, and Daggerfall dungeons really weren't designed with the completionist mindset that you might see in more modern games. I rarely completely explore a dungeon. Instead, I'm often there to gain experience and some skills and get some loot to build up my resources. After completing whatever needed to be done in the side quest, feel free to leave without exploring at all. I think if you approach it in this way, you'll start to enjoy the dungeon designs in Daggerfall a lot more. I've seen pretty often that players that are new to Daggerfall make a post saying something like this: "Alright, I've made it out of the first dungeon and went to a city. Now what?" The first thing I'd recommend is to not immediately start rushing into the main quest line. Instead, Build up some resources like gold and potions, and gain reputation in a faction that fits your class fantasy and build. For martial focused classes, the Fighter's Guild is a natural choice, or one of the Knightly Orders could work as well. And for builds that focus more on spellcasting, you really want immediate access to the Mage's Guild and all that it offers you. So instead of rushing right into the main quest line, first try working on gaining reputation with a faction. And in doing so, you'll be given side quests that through completion will get you used to the combat system, used to dungeon delving, and building important resources over time that'll help you with the main quest line. There is always a way to take any pre-made spell from the spell shop and recreate it in a more efficient and more effective way. Whether it's tuning the spell cost, the power of the spell, or the duration of it, there's no spell in the game that you can't make better by remaking it through spell making. Except for spells like Recall, for which there's only one way to make use of this spell effect. But for most spells, try remaking them and play around with the different parameters, and you should be able to find a way to make a spell you bought better. I know when you first start using the spellmaking system that it can be a little bit difficult to understand, but you can really simplify the process by understanding what the goal of making a new spell is. For example, let's say you want to make a simple single target at range damaging spell. If we want to improve upon a pre-made spell from the shop in this example, then we can really just look at two factors: the cost of the spell and the damage it deals. Keep it simple at first, and as you learn how it works over time, you'll begin to understand how to make it more efficient and more effective than what the game offers you in the shop. There's 5 mistakes you might be making in Daggerfall. If you're a longtime fan of the game, feel free to give more tips in the comments for new players. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Take care.